Mandy Worby and her husband Ian were part of an ANZAC solidarity mission to the nation of Israel. They have literally just returned to Australia a few days ago, and I'm really keen to hear Mandy's thoughts and impressions and experiences in the nation of Israel. So we welcome Mandy into the studio now. Mandy, welcome.
Hi, Andrew. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you, Mandy. And obviously, since October 7, Israel has featured so prominently in the news. I just want to ask you, tell us exactly what you felt when you landed. What was the impression you got from Israel?
Well, my first thought when I landed was absolute sheer relief and gratitude that I was back. I love that place. I just love that place, and I love that people. But there's not as many people walking around. The airport wasn't as busy as it normally is. It's a very subdued place at the moment, like really subdued. Since October 7, the nation is grieving. Every single day is a battle. And I don't just mean, a military battle. It's a battle for them emotionally and psychologically. Every day they don't forget that they still have 133 of their loved ones living in tunnels, experiencing only God knows what. So they're a grieving nation at the moment.
Yeah, they've been traumatised, and I think the Israeli people I know they all say, everyone knows someone that died or was taken hostage on October 7th. And so what's the feeling like amongst the Israeli people now on the ground there about the rest of the world? Are they feeling like the world has turned on them?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I guess we went down to the Gaza envelope. I went to the Nova Festival fields, which was very hard. We went to two kibbutzim, Kfar Azar and Nir Yitzhak. We're going to be doing some restoration work with one of the kibbutzim there. We went to the city of Sderot, which was attacked. And then we went further north, very much close to the Syrian border as well, the Syrian-Jordanian border. And we did some volunteer work on a raspberry farm there to help one of the farmers, because most of the reservists and workers, they're all called up.
That's interesting. So, we sometimes just think, Israel's at war in Gaza, but there's real impacts there, isn't there? So people who are farmers who need labour, they don't have enough labour to pick the fruit and the vegetables that they're growing. Yeah,
in fact, at the moment, there's quite a large number of people from India coming in. They just want to come in and work. They're going to come in, work and help with that issue that Israel is facing, because the reservists have been called up, and so many people are displaced. They can't do their normal jobs. It's a really tough situation. But when you asked me how the people feeling, everywhere we went, we spoke to, again, the people at the kibbutz. We spoke to survivors of the attacks. We spoke to family who are now displaced. They're refugees in their own country. They can't go home because of Hezbollah in the north and Hamas in the south. So we spoke to them. They all said the same thing. Why would you come? One from the farm, his name is... I mentioned his name to you just before, and I can't remember.
The raspberry farm. We'll call him the raspberry farmer.
Yeah, the raspberry farmer, gorgeous man, Zvi. And he said, why would you come from basically the other side of the universe to come here? And we said, well, because we love you, we love Israel, we want to stand with you, and you're not alone. We want you to know that you're not alone. And he said, on the morning of October 7, and this gentleman is an Orthodox Jewish man running a farm, new farm, and he said, we woke up. First of all, because it was Shabbat, so they didn't have any TV. But then when they realised something was going on, they found the news.
Now, hang on. For our listeners who don't know what Shabbat is, what is Shabbat?
Oh, they're observing the Sabbath. They had the day before was Simchat Torah, a very holy day for them, where they celebrate that they've got through going through the Bible in a year. They celebrate the giving of going through the whole Bible and then getting ready to start going through the Bible again for the next year. It's a very important day to them, very joyful day. And they just finished the Feast of Tabernacles, all right, and they finished with a Sabbath. So it was the Sabbath. It was Shabbat.
So they were attacked on a Sabbath day. So Hamas knew what they were doing. They deliberately targeted them on a day when they knew everyone would be resting.
Yeah,
and the
much.
more Orthodox Jews don't touch technology on Sabbath. They just rest and interact with their family. So it was a perfect time.
No phones, no videos, no internet. They turn it all off and they just focus on God and each other. So when they realised something was going on, they had to access technology, and then they saw what was happening. And I remember him saying, Avi his name, not Zvi. And Avi said what they saw and what they were learning had been done to their people. He looked at me, he said, animals don't even do that. He said, I don't understand it. Animals don't even do that. And we were just like blindsided. He said it was almost within days. The whole world turned against us. He looked at me, he said, why does the world hate us so much? We didn't do anything. And they turned on them. The world turned on Israel before they'd actually even fired a shot back. So they can't say we turned on them because of Israel's response. They turned on them before Israel responded. And he just said, I don't understand it. But what we did was on that day, just because we wanted to be practical in our assistance and love, it was absolutely bucketing down with rain. It was so muddy. So he bought us all welly boots. We put on our rubber boots and we marched into the fields, and we had half of us were digging some little trenches for the next lot of planting, and our guys were putting in volcanic rocks at the bottom for drainage. And the other half of us, I was one of those, went into the greenhouses, and I just need to point out something. They are not weatherproof.
So a bit wet and muddy inside.
Oh, my gosh. We had more mud on our boots than was on the ground.
Yep.
And we were helping with the strings for the rows of the raspberries, tightening those up, fixing them up so they could grow up the trellises and that sort of thing. And we spent hours in the mud, helping them in the farm. Then we went and had morning tea with them, and we just got to love on them and talk to them, and they were just like overwhelmed that we would come. They just said, even if you hadn't helped us, I mean, we're so grateful for the help. You've no idea how much you've helped us. But even if it didn't do that, you just came.
Yeah.
You got no idea what that means to us, that you came.
Yeah.
Everywhere we went, whether it was the survivors of October 7, the refugees from October 7, the head of one of the Zaka, you've talked to a Zaka rep, he just said, you came. You came.
Yeah.
The whole world is crushing us. We're trying to fight and get rid of Hamas because they have promised that they want to commit October 7 again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
And they're being fired on from Hezbollah in the north. They didn't attack Hezbollah. Hezbollah attacked them. They're being fired on from Yemen. Israel didn't attack the Houthis, but they're being attacked from there. They've been attacked from Syria, and they've been attacked from Iran.
Yeah.
And they're saying, and the whole world hates us. And you came.
Which is amazing, Mandy, because you have and your team have showed the love of God to this individual and to others in the Israeli communities that you visited. And what a great demonstration of the love of God and Christian love. And for our listeners, a lot may not know history that well. Give us a brief snapshot of the modern day Israelis' opinion about Christians based on history, what the Christians have done to the Jews throughout history. Yeah,
well, the Christian church, it pretty much got solidified with Constantine. So you're looking at 1800 years really of concerted, deliberate persecution, animosity and hatred toward the Jewish people. And that's what the Jewish people know. Now, you and I would say, listen, there's a difference between real Christians and fake Christians.
Yeah.
They don't know that. Everything that was done to them was done in the name of Jesus under the banner of a cross.
Absolutely.
So in the mind of the Jew, and they warn their children generation after generation, this is what Christians do to us. This is how Christians feel about us. They hate us. They think that they've replaced us, that we don't have a place anymore. They will always side with our enemies and they will always persecute us.
And up until, some would even probably think Germany was a Christian nation that did the Holocaust in World War II.
There's going to be a lot of Christians who don't like what I have to say, but Adolf Hitler quoted Martin Luther a lot because Martin Luther, towards the end of his life, became very rabidly anti-Semitic and wrote a book called The Jews and Their Lies. And I've got that book and I have read that book and it is appalling.
Yeah.
So Adolf Hitler was validating his attitude toward the Jews and his treatment by quoting Martin Luther.
Yeah.
That's what the Jewish people know. So it is a quandary for them because their greatest enemy for the past 1800 years has been Christians, and suddenly the only real friends they've got are Christians. It's like, how do I love my enemy when my enemy is my only friend?
Yeah.
It's a real struggle for them. But you said the word, this is a great testimony and a great witness. So,
it is. And it's amazing because, you've got, like you said, and as Aussies, I mean, we've only got 200 and something, if we're white Australians, something years of history.
Yeah.
They've got thousands of years of
Yeah, they
history,
do.
and they've got 1,800 years of actual events where people in the name of the cross, the Catholic Church, the Pope, Christianity, whatever it was, have literally murdered them and displaced them. So there's so many walls, isn't there, between them
There really
receiving
is.
Jesus. And I'm just, it's horrible what happened on October 7th. It's horrible what's happening in Israel now. They're the most persecuted minority in the world. In the age where we're all about minorities and protecting minorities, it's like they're the only minority the world thinks it's okay to persecute now. And
I
in the
know.
midst of all that, I'm just so encouraged, Mandy, by you and your husband and the team going there and just showing the Israeli people the love of God through the name of Jesus.
Well, I'm very thankful that, our little group that went was not the only one. We were, a mix of Kiwis and Aussies, a little ANZAC solidarity tour.
You let some Kiwis come, did you? You're a very kind-hearted lady, aren't you?
It was so great to stand there shoulder to shoulder with our Jewish brothers and sisters. But, most people have no idea what's going on around the world, of just how bad it is, not just for Israel. Israel is being targeted and crushed by the whole world at the moment. Our country is included in this crushing, in this weight. But it's not just Israel, it's the Jewish people collectively around the world are being targeted. Like, look, I'm not a fan of social media, and I've been talking about, spend less time on social media for years. When I got back from Israel last year, from our tour last September, October, I actually reactivated my Facebook page because I thought I've got to have another avenue to tell the truth. And so I use my Facebook page now specifically to advocate for Israel and tell the truth. I posted a short video this morning juxtaposed with a photograph from the 1930s in Germany. And the black and white photo from Germany shows a group of young Nazis holding hands, strung out together to prevent Jewish students from entering their university.
Wow.
And then there's a video, and I believe it's from Columbia University in America, where pro-Hamas students are barring a young Jewish student from entering the building.
Yep.
That's today, 2024, April 2024. And what happened in Germany is happening again now, except it's happening on a global scale. What are we going to do about that?
Well, it's also happening in a nation that for 200 and something years has prided itself on its liberty, on its freedom, on the fact that God created all men equal. And it wasn't just that Columbia University, it was Yale as well. I just saw a young Jewish student interviewed on Piers Morgan just a couple of days ago, and she was also surrounded by this mob who were protesting because they identified her as being Jewish, and her friend with her, and they were separated. She had a flagpole poked in her eye.
I was just going to say, she
and
was
this is
stabbed
a
in the eye with
nation that declares liberty and freedom as one of its core values, and we have Jewish students and in their top universities in America being persecuted. It's horrible.
I posted just a couple of days ago, or a day ago, whatever it was. I'm posting a lot of stuff on Facebook because you're just not going to get. You're not going to get this information anywhere. You just won't get it. So I posted, and it was a list at the moment of universities that have massive issues at the moment with anti-Israel, anti-Semitism and pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian activists on their campuses, and it's a huge list. There's a massive problem.
Yep.
And that's why it's really important for Christians to stand up and speak up, not be silent. Look, I understand that sometimes people just want to be quiet because you don't want to upset the other side because they can be very volatile and they'll come after you. I would like to encourage my Christian brothers and sisters to please develop a spine of iron. We have to take a stand. Albert Niemöller who was in Germany during the war. And I'm not going to get this exactly right, but he made a statement, because when all of the stuff was going on in Germany with Hitler and all of the rest of it, and the Jews were being marched off, and he didn't say much until he finally did, and he ended up in prison. He did survive, but he made a statement. He said first they came for, the socialists and the trade unionists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the socialists. I didn't say anything because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for somebody else and I didn't speak up. Then they came for the Jews and I didn't speak up because I'm not a Jew. He said, then they came for me and there was nobody left to speak up for me.
Wow. What a quote.
We have to, it's on his headstone. It's his epitaph on his headstone. We have to speak up and take a stand. You don't have to agree with everything about the Israeli government and their policies. But in this particular situation right now, they have a righteous, just cause. I was in Jerusalem when Iran sent those rockets across, and God performed a miracle greater than the 6-day war. And it's been calculated now.
Now let's talk about that. Yeah, the physicist. What did he say when he made those calculations?
Yeah, because he actually sat down, and he was a Jewish physicist, and he sat down, he did some calculations, when you get these mass experts and they look at the statistics.
Yep.
And he came away blown away. He said you had 350 cruise missiles, surface-to-surface missiles and drones, suicide drones sent from Iran all at the same time. And in a coordinated effort, France, UK and America, as well as Jordan and Saudi Arabia and Israel as the majority, coordinated to the second in different places, different countries, in different ways, with different equipment, and they coordinated, and they literally took all these missiles and drones out.
It was about 300, wasn't it?
350.
Incredible. 350.
Right, 350. And they were all intercepted bar, I think it was about 2 or 3 that hit the Negev base. And it literally it put a hole in the side of a road, and the Negev base continued on. And the only injury in that was from shrapnel from an interception that actually, unfortunately, injured a 7-year-old Arab Bedouin girl who's had 2 surgeries, I believe. She's okay. That is a miracle. And when the physicist worked out the statistics they all had to work in precision and timing to the second, 99.9%
amazing
were literally disabled.
Incredible,
in the air. He said it was a greater miracle than the 6-day war. And most people kind of went yawn and kept going. Let me tell you something. There are many places in the Bible where God says, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to defend you, I'm going to protect you, I'm going to do all these things so that all the world will know there is a God in Israel. And you know what the world does? It yawns, it goes on to the next news cycle, and it fixates on something else that an Israeli did.
Yeah. Well, that's the media, but I believe the hearts of people, though, are being touched by what God is doing here, Mandy. And, my heart's touched by you and Ian and the team going there and just showing that love to that raspberry farmer and all the different people you interacted with. And I know we could talk for hours about this, and we are going to have a longer discussion, and we're going to upload that onto our podcast feed. But, Mandy, I just want to thank you for representing all of us here in Australia and New Zealand and going there physically and showing some love to these people who are just suffering so much at the moment. And I guess the thing we can all do too is pray. We can just pray for Israel, pray for God to move, for His Holy Spirit to work in the midst of the darkness they're experiencing, that the light of heaven would shine and that more and more of them would come to know Jesus. But
and can I just say, it's important that people educate themselves, because if you're just going to listen to the 6 o'clock news on, I don't know, whatever channel, I don't want to give them any airtime, but if you're just going to listen to that, you are not going to get the news. And I'm not going to say that I have all of the news at my fingertips, but I mean, I'm posting a lot of stuff on my Facebook page, and Ian does as well, to get more factual information out. So if you want to be able to educate yourself, at least start with a simple thing like, friend me on Facebook, friend Ian on Facebook, and we'll make sure that you have access to some great information. Yeah,
and that's Ian Worby, W-O-R-B-Y, and Mandy Worby, W-R-B-Y. Worby. Mandy, I want to thank you so much for joining us on 2020 today, and looking forward to that conversation we're going to have tomorrow, and we're going to upload that onto our podcast feed. This is Mandy Worby, just back from her solidarity mission to Israel with some Kiwi brothers and sisters and some Aussies as well, representing all of us, showing the love of God in Israel.